Buenos dias. In this video, we'll talk about a very useful verb in Spanish, which is the verb ser, which means to be. In English, the verb to be has three different forms: am, is, and are. We use am if we want to say I am. We use is with he and she. And we use are with you, we, and they. Just like in English, in Spanish, the verb ser has several different forms. It has 6 different forms depending on who we're talking about. We use soy if we're talking about ourselves, saying yo soy. We use eres if we're talking to someone that we use the to form with. We use es with the usted, el, and ella forms. Somos with nosotros and nosotras. Sois with vosotros and vosotras. And son with ustedes, ellos, and ellas. And we're going to go through these one by one and look at some examples. We're going to start with the left side of the chart. These are the singular forms that we use when we're talking about just one person. So if I want to say that I am, I say yo soy. Yo soy. Tu eres is you are. If I'm talking to one person and I'm using the informal to form with them, for example, I'm talking to a friend, a classmate, a child, someone that I'd normally call by their first name. Then when I want to say you are to them, I will say tu eres. If they are someone who I speak more formally to, I call them by their last name. Maybe they're a person I don't know as well, or they're a boss, or they're an older person. I would say usted es. Usted es. I also use the word es if I'm talking about another person and I want to say he is. I say él es. Él es. And ella es for she is. Ella es. Yo soy. Tú eres. Usted es. Él es. Ella es. On the right side of the chart, we have the plural forms that we use when we're talking about more than one person. So if I'm talking about myself and a group of people, then I will use the nosotros form and say nosotros somos. We are. Nosotros somos. I say nosotros somos if it's a group of men and women together, or if everyone in the group is men. Nosotros somos. If the group is only women, then I say nosotras somos. Nosotras somos, for we are. The next one is vosotros sois. I use that if I'm talking to a group of people in an informal way, people I call by their first names. It's the masculine form, so I use that when I'm talking to a group of guys or a mixed group of girls and guys. And the vosotros form is mainly used in Spain. Vosotros sois. If it's a group of girls that I know well and I'm in Spain using the vosotras form, I would say vosotras sois. Vosotras sois. Elsewhere, if I'm talking to a group, it doesn't matter how well I know them. It doesn't matter if I call them by their first name or their last name. I can use ustedes when I talk to them. And so I would say ustedes son. You guys are, or you girls are, you all are. Doesn't matter if they're men or women. Doesn't matter how well I know them. It's ustedes regardless of who I'm talking to if it's a group of people. Ustedes son. To say they are, I say ellos son. Ellos son. This is the masculine form, so I use that if I'm talking about a group of men or a mixed group of men and women together. Ellos son. If everyone in the group is women, then I would say ellas son. There's no men in the group. Ellas son. They are. So here are some examples of how to use this in sentences. If I want to say she is tall, I say ella es alta. Es is the word that means is. Ella es alta. La casa es grande. The house is large. La casa es grande. In Spanish, there are actually two different verbs that mean to be. There's ser, which we're talking about in this video, and there's estar, which we'll talk about in a different video. The verb ser that we're going over in this video is mainly used for permanent conditions. And the other verb, estar, is mainly used for temporary conditions and also for locations. So here's some examples of the difference between them. If I want to ask what someone is like, I will say, ¿Cómo eres? What are you like? That's using the verb ser that we're going over in this video. ¿Cómo eres? What do you like? So I use the verb ser, and the answer to a question like ¿Cómo eres? Will be a description of that person. They might say what they look like, or they might explain what their personality is like. They're going to describe themselves if I ask them, ¿Cómo eres? If I use the verb estar instead, I will say, ¿Cómo estás? And that's asking what someone is like. That means, how are you? And so the answer might be bien, or it might be an explanation of how that person is feeling. This is also what you would say when you greet someone, want to say, hi, how are you? ¿Cómo estás? So we use ¿Cómo estás? To say, how are you? And we use ¿Cómo eres? To say, what are you like? Another example of the difference between ser and estar is when we want to say where we're from and where we are now. If I want to say where I'm from, I'm going to use the verb ser. So I can say, yo soy de Mexico. I am from Mexico. That's considered a permanent thing. The place where you're from is where you will always be from, even if you go somewhere else. You are still originally from the place where you come from. And so that's why we use the verb ser for a permanent condition. Yo soy de Mexico. I am from Mexico. But if I want to talk about where I am now, that's a temporary condition. I'm in one place now, but I'll probably be somewhere else later. I might have been somewhere else in the past. It's temporary. And so I can say, yo estoy en California. Yo estoy en California. I am in California. That's temporary. It's talking about where I am now. With locations, current locations, we use the verb estar. So again, if I want to say where I'm from, I use ser, yo soy de Mexico. And if I want to say where I am now, I use estar, yo estoy en California. We'll talk more about the difference between ser and estar in the video about the verb estar. So that's all for now. Hasta la próxima.